everybody. Welcome you all to another episode of BII's Healthcare Dialogue series, where we usually endeavor to bring together global perspectives on the healthcare landscape, prevailing trends in the market, associated roadblocks, and new benchmarks for healthcare service delivery in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. Joining us today, we have Mr. Michel Atallah. He's the CEO at Siemens Healthineers. He has spent the last 16 years with Siemens Healthineers in varying leadership positions. He has also previously worked in telecommunications, robotics, and medtech. I must also mention that Siemens Healthineers is an esteemed diamond sponsor at our upcoming second Patient Experience Excellence Congress, scheduled to virtually stage from the 9th to 11th November 2020, which is just next week. So to begin with, Mr. Atallah, can you tell us something about Siemens Healthineers and how Siemens Healthineers is supporting healthcare providers during this COVID-19 period?
Yeah, hello. First of all, thank you for inviting me to this interview. Siemens Healthineers, of course, is a global leader in the diagnostics and the therapy technology market. We are mainly active in lab diagnostics, radiology, imaging, as well as minimally invasive therapies, as well as offering advisory services and digitalization to our customers. Now, going back to your question regarding COVID-19, what we did, we very quickly recognized when the pandemic started reaching global status, that we had to adapt our way of working. And the first thing we did was to establish a crisis management team. Every country, actually, there was a global team, as well as in every country, in every major country, a crisis management team, including an operations center operating 24/7 to make sure that our customers were receiving all the support they needed during this very critical phase where systems, diagnostics, and machines have to be available 24/7 in order to test patients. That's the first thing we did. Secondly, we very quickly developed COVID-19 testing capability, PCR, antibodies, and so on. In a few months, we were able to get them on the market in order to help our customers manage this the situation. Additionally, being traditionally an imaging company, we adapted our scanners and our protocols in order to be able to quickly detect side effects. That's what imaging is used for usually in COVID-19, side effects of the disease. Thirdly, because the demand on machines, diagnostics machines increased manyfold, 5 times, 10 times in certain cases, we ramped up our capacity in our factories globally in order to meet this demand, and even partially meet this demand because it was so huge, it was impossible to meet it completely. And finally, what we did after a few months, we accelerated our development of digital health solutions, mainly helping customers establish telehealth and telemedicine solutions, for example, to enable the remote monitoring of certain chronically ill patients in order to avoid them having to come to hospitals, which were anyway overwhelmed with COVID-19 patients, and at that same time offer the care needed for those chronically ill patients while they're sitting at home. That's mainly what we as Siemens Healthineers did in the past few months.
Great. I think telehealth is going to be the next future for the healthcare sector for the time to come. And that takes me to the next question that I have for you is, what according to you are the factors influencing patient experience across the continuum of care?
Yeah, the patient experience and the market has recognized anyway, including healthcare providers, have put patient experience in their strategy only a few years ago. And we as a technology company, traditionally, since we don't come in contact with patients, also maybe in the last 3 years or so, started adapting our strategy and our approach to accommodate patient experience. In my view, patient experience starts with the engagement phase, in a preparation for a certain treatment or procedure with the patient. And the engagement with the patient is extremely important so that he or she understands what they're about to go through, why and how they will go through it. Secondly, it goes into the diagnostics phase. Usually, almost every situation requires a diagnostics phase. Being able to have an effective and efficient and convenient for the patient diagnostics phase is extremely important. Thirdly, during the therapy phase, of course, and maybe the most important part of this is that patients care about outcomes. In other words, if you make sure that you are delivering an effective or a clinically positive outcome for the patient, they will feel very good. And also doesn't stop there. Final phase influencing patient experience is, of course, the follow-up phase, where the patient needs to understand what the result was. They may even need access to their records. And we, as a technology company, are engaged in all four phases. During the engagement phase, for example, you can help the healthcare providers explain the procedure to the patient, for example, by offering what is usually used for diagnostics purposes, an image, for example, but more patient-friendly with a 3D animation in order to explain to the patient what they're about to go through. During, of course, diagnostics phase, we spend a lot of time making sure our equipment is as patient-friendly as possible. For example, the experience going into the radiology department, if it's an imaging procedure, the whole experience, even when they reach reception, is influencing how well the patient is feeling. During the therapy phase, having increasingly available and routine, minimally invasive procedures, but what it does in the end is, of course, it has less side effects on the patient, as well as offering a very, very positive clinical outcome for the patient, which of course contributes to their whole overall experience. And then after that, during the follow-up phase as well, we have many tools that help providers explain, including giving access to patients to their medical records. That's how we as a technology company are contributing to this trend in the healthcare market.
I agree with you. Patient experience was nothing but mainstream until a couple of years ago. And this is it's taking a lot of center stage in the current point in time within the healthcare ecosystems, where the processes and the technologies and the solutions are designed keeping in mind patients at the center of the healthcare ecosystem. And I think the overall objective of the healthcare organizations is to achieve or to be able to deliver exceptional patient experience at every single touch point, which is from detection to diagnosis to therapy to discharge procedure and then follow up. So that takes me to another question is COVID has accelerated digital transformation within the healthcare sector. There's no two ways about it. These are unprecedented times that we are facing. What do you see as legacy of this crisis for the healthcare sector, and how should we not let the learnings from the crisis go waste?
Yeah, very good point. And you said it already. Digitalization in healthcare is not anything new. What the COVID-19 pandemic has done is that it's just accelerated this trend, and accelerated dramatically. Okay, and just like working from home, the healthcare provision is going more into digital space, especially when it's possible. For example, digital consultations and even treatments, they are here to stay. There's no question about it. You can now do a lot of diagnosis on patients. I mentioned earlier the chronic disease patients who can be monitored in a continuous way while they're sitting at home, because what you need to do in this case is monitor heart rate, maybe ECG, weight, and so on. And you're able to, in real time, monitor the situation of the patient and recommend treatment changes or diet changes in this case, or other adjustments to their therapy or to their care while they're staying at home. And this trend, there's no question about it, is here to stay. Okay. The question is, what can we learn from it, and how can it go further? In the end, in my view, healthcare provision is going into a more into a continuum, starting from home, where you're able to monitor and care for the patient, into local centers, health centers, closer to the patient's home, and into the hospitals in more specialized situations. And all of these have to be in a connected continuum, where in every step or in every type of care, access to the patient's information as well as situation and therapy is all connected in order to provide the best possible care. And in the end, when you offer this to the patient, it doesn't only have cost and clinical advantages, it also have for the patient, going back to the patient experience, it will have on the patient a tremendously positive effect. Why? Because a patient who doesn't have to go to the hospital once a month or to the doctor once a month, and they may be able to at least save 20-30% of those visits by only teleconsulting and monitoring a few vital signs at home, will also feel better. And there's many studies showing that actually patients who feel better psychologically will also have a faster way to recovery.
Exactly. I agree to that. And as people become more mobile and more connected thanks to digital technologies, it is vital that the healthcare providers open a digital front door to make care as accessible as possible. So I'd like to ask another question, which is what, according to you, are the major barriers for embracing digital technologies to improve healthcare outcomes? And how do you recommend to fully operationalize it for improving care access, efficiency, and patient outcomes?
Yeah, digitalization is not a given, especially when it just touches healthcare. For example, if you think about the patient, that one day, and even this day is partially here today, that they can accept having a digitally enhanced medicine. For example, some patients just feel better being with the doctor in their office.
Exactly.
How will they accept, and what would it take to have them accept consulting at home, where they feel that if the doctor is not taking their pulse, for example, or a stethoscope in their hand, or whatever, that they're able to offer the same experience? Or taking it one step further, what about if a diagnosis or even a therapy is done with an AI algorithm assisting this therapy? How comfortable would the patient feel that the doctor behind it is not, yes, the doctor is fully in control, but is using, let's say, digital tools, in order to enhance or even taking it even one step further, robotically assisted procedures, surgeries, for example. How will the patient react when they know that the surgeon is not directly operating on them? All these are concerns or barriers that will take time and some education, and maybe even generational differences, and how quickly patients will adopt them. Now, if you go to the regulatory side, regulations for digital health are also not necessarily adapted to the fast pace of digital innovation. For example, if you're looking at an AI algorithm, as an example, the time it takes usually to medically approve or clinically approve a procedure is way longer than what it takes to make several iterations on an AI algorithm. That's also a concern, and in time will have to be adapted to this new phenomenon. And finally, if I may add one more point, doctors themselves, and if you on a daily basis are working with doctors, not every doctors regards digital tools as necessarily a positive thing. Now, you could say it's a generational thing. You could say it's a cultural thing. Maybe it's both. Maybe it's a society thing. But some doctors actually, and if I mention AI explicitly, some doctors feel that somehow their jobs or the control over their decisions is being lost. I don't see it this way. We as Siemens Healthineers don't see it this way, because our AI solutions, to mention AI or robotic solutions, are there. They are called assistants. They will not replace, in our view, the doctor. They will only assist the doctor, who in the end will have the final decision and the final say into what is the best diagnosis or treatment for this particular patient. All of these are factors. There's many more, but I would mention those three: doctors, regulatory, and also patients' acceptance as main barriers.
Exactly. I think it's about striking the right balance between, it's not a threat or a competition, but it's striking the right balance between the practice itself and the technological solutions deployment in order to deliver the outcomes that we are expecting to deliver when it comes to patient experience. So tell us something of your promising e-health solutions and the value promise of Siemens Healthineers.
Yes, sure. First of all, I'd start with the value promises. About 3 years ago, we formulated what we call our promises, or our value promises, to our customers, who are, in the end, our mission. We, as Siemens Healthineers, our mission is to enable healthcare providers delivering more value. And we made 4 value promises to our customers, and how we will then deliver this enablement to our customers. First of all, we think that we want to contribute to expand precision medicine. Secondly, we want to expand the access to care, as in more ways of accessing care. Thirdly, we want to contribute to enhancing patient experience. And finally, all these 3 promises enabled by a bigger promise, or an overarching promise, of digitalization, which will help us bring those to our customers. Now, what are exciting e-health innovations coming to the market? There are many. Maybe I would mention a few that come to mind that we think are significant changes coming, at least from our point of view. First, I would mention is the so-called AI pathway companion. AI pathway companion, artificial intelligence pathway companion, is our first foray into decision support enabled by AI. We're doing it initially, we actually get it as FDA approved. Going back to the regulatory question from earlier, it took us a while to get it approved from the FDA. It was approved a few months ago. And this is a way to use AI to enable better clinical decisions along the entire pathway. In this case, for prostate cancer, we're also working on other pathologies, meaning that in every step of the way, from screening to diagnosis to therapy and follow-up, every step using hundreds of thousands of cases to train this AI algorithm, helping reach a better care for the patient using the particular specifics of the patient, genomics, lab results, images, patient history, family history, and so on. And that's, we think, what a major innovation that we brought to the market about 1 year ago, and like I said, a few months ago, was FDA approved. Second thing, we made a significant investment 1 year ago, a first of a kind in a pioneer company called Corindus. This company is a pioneer in PCI procedures, robotically assisted PCI procedures, which will bring for the first time in PCI procedures, i.e. minimally invasive procedures, robotic assistance. There's many companies in robotically assisted surgeries, conventional surgeries, if I may call them this. In this case, this will be the first company that we acquired about a year ago, offering robot-assisted PCI procedures, which opens a whole new world in the future about better integration with the image that is produced to have a better planning and therapy management and other advantages, which we will bring in due time. This last exciting innovation is particularly relevant to this market here. We launched a few months ago My Care Companion. I mentioned earlier our telehealth solution, which we initially brought in for chronically ill patients during the COVID-19, is now a full-fledged product called My Care Companion. This is a digital health platform for different kinds of chronically ill patients, for example, including COVID, by the way, patients who don't necessarily who don't have acute symptoms, can be quarantined at home and monitored at home, for example. Chronically ill heart patients, same story, with a continuous monitoring of the situation, including teleconsultation, adjusting prescriptions online, without the patient having to come to the clinic or to the hospital in order to receive this care. And what's exciting, is particularly exciting about this solution, My Care Companion, is that we're piloting it in Saudi Arabia with the MOH. We go live actually in about 10 days time with a limited number of patients in order to prove the principle that you can actually reduce readmissions and reduce hospital visits by having this solution in place. And we hope that after 6 months of pilot, we can prove this and launch it on a larger scale. These would be, for me, the main or some of the main exciting products coming to the market soon.
That's exciting innovations, to say so. Inshallah, you get a lot of success in the upcoming ventures and in your endeavors. Amongst the other healthcare veterans, we have you joining as the executive panelist at our second Patient Experience Excellence Congress next week. What are you most looking forward to from your participation?
I would answer this question the same way I would answer it in every case. There's one which I believe main benefit for these kinds of panels, discussions, and these kinds of seminars is the opportunity to be sitting on a panel and maybe even with the audience that may not be the kind of audience or the panel that you see on a daily basis. At least in our case, on a daily basis, we're meeting with doctors involved more on diagnostics and therapy side. On these kinds of panels, you have participants from fields that may not be directly connected to us. And it's an excellent opportunity, in my view, to exchange different perspectives, these different points of view on a particular point. And for me, this is a major, it brings us hopefully, and then hopefully we can also bring to the table some new ideas, and that will lead overall to a better let's say, understanding on what is needed to advance healthcare in general.
Great. Thanks a lot. That's real great insights. Thank you very much for your time today. We sincerely appreciate you sharing some very interesting viewpoints. I'm sure we all agree to the fact that the pandemic has detonated the implementation of many technological solutions that had been long struggling to prove their value. We are seeing a renaissance in the world of healthcare with digital players able to build intuitive, patient-centric, user-friendly, and AI-powered digital healthcare solutions. If this natural course of disruptive innovation is to continue, we're going to experience a new health system that's characterized by value-based care, high quality, greater convenience, and better patient outcomes. So before we sign off, we would like to invite you all to join us with the virtual edition of the second Patient Experience Excellence Congress as it lines up healthcare industry game changers and technology visionaries like Mr. Atallah who are at the forefront of change. Do not miss this opportunity as together we celebrate and learn from the COVID-19 success stories to shape new frontiers in patient experience, health tech, and innovation. So for now, bye and stay safe.
Thank you.